we're going to be talking about Facebook marketing. But before I actually dive into Facebook marketing, I wanted to go over one thing with you guys that I had not covered in previous lessons. And once you kind of get to this point in the strategy where you're getting more involved and interactive with your website visitors, then you have to start taking care of this, and that is your privacy policy and terms and conditions pages. I've actually set some of these up for you guys and provided you with text files as part of the course material for this particular class, and you can simply take these text files and put them into your own sites with fairly minor modifications to them. And so I wanted to at least show those modifications to you guys here so you can actually know what you're supposed to do. So we have both the privacy policy and the terms and conditions pages. I already have these punched into my site here. So I will not actually be creating them again, but I can show you exactly how I have gone through and created these. So we have the privacy policy. This is the text file here that I've opened up on my screen. This is what I've provided for you guys as part of this course material. So this privacy policy, what it's basically covering, this is not your affiliate disclosure or anything like that. You still want to take care of the affiliate disclosure. I usually do that on an About Us page of the site, something that I've covered in previous tutorials of mine. But this privacy policy here, this is essentially covering things that I am doing on Amazon, on Google, and anything involving user registration or blog commenting that's going to be going on this site. So this same type of a thing can really apply to other affiliate sites that you might build, or perhaps even sites that you've built with previous strategies of mine. But you may or may not need this entire privacy policy. For example, if you build a site with my previous strategy where you're not actually doing blogging and encouraging commenting on your site, then you wouldn't need, for example, this top portion of information up here, where it's talking about your submitted personal information to this website. But you would likely still be using the Google Analytics section, which also involves third-party collection of data, and this even gets into Amazon stuff and explaining cookies. So this will cover you guys, and it's meant to not be horribly confusing to the point where somebody should be able to read this that, you know, isn't an attorney, and they should be able to understand it. So this is really more meant for your users, a way that they can understand what's really going on your website and how it could affect their computer or their personal information. So the only adjustment that you really need to make to this one file is some text right up here in this first section. This is all in capital letters, as you can see, and it says link to contact page, support system, or email address. So what you're wanting to do here is exactly what the text says. Provide a link to some type of way that the users of your site can contact you. And this is going to be in the event that they want to have that personal information of theirs removed from your website. And this would mainly happen with blog commenting, for example. If they come in there and post these comments on your site, and at a later point in time they wanted to have all that removed, you would need to be able to provide them a way that they could contact you to do so. Now, if you didn't have a contact page or support system, or perhaps a dedicated email address for this particular website, you could still possibly direct them to a Facebook account to send you a message there, especially since you are trying to do a lot of this stuff through Facebook, and all of the commenting that's actually going to be going on these websites will be done through Facebook as well. So I believe that would be acceptable in this particular situation. But whatever the case may be, just simply replace this one line of text with a link and create a page on your site for the privacy policy. I typically will name this page just privacy right here for the URL instead of letting it do the full privacy policy. So as you can see right here, I have replaced that text in mine with a link to my support ticket system, so they could contact me there if they needed to have any of the comments or personal information removed. So simply set this site up, and we're going to later put this into a menu. But we're going to go on to the terms and conditions page next before I actually walk you through and show you how to set up the menu. Now, the terms and conditions page is a little bit more complicated. I already have mine customized here. But to start with, you're going to have your text file that you download as part of the course material. And within this text file, there are a number of different replacement tags that you will want to go through and replace with the relevant information for your own site. Now, if you're using Windows, you can use the program Notepad to do this. There is a replace feature right here, and all you have to do is tell it what to find and what to replace it with. Now, even if you're not using Windows, you should have some type of word processing software on your computer that has this capability. So all you want to do is go through and replace these tags, and there's actually 4 of these tags. One of them that you can see I already have highlighted right here says site name caps. So we simply want to paste this in to the find what text box here, and down below we want to replace this with the name of our site but in all capital letters. So for my site, this will be Carbon Fanatic, and I put this in all capital letters, and then I simply click on the Replace All button, and this replaces not only that one instance, but any others that may be occurring throughout this file with the name of my site here. And then I simply repeat the process for the next 3 tags. Now the next one is site name. This is not in capital letters. So it's the same thing I did before, but just capitalize perhaps the first word in each word throughout your site name. And then the same thing again, we replace all. The next one is site domain. This time, we're simply putting a .com on the end and removing the space that's in the middle. So I have carbonfanatic.com. I replace all again, and the final one is site contact. For site contact, I would actually want to replace this with the exact same thing that I used back here on my privacy policy page. This link right here to whatever I'm deciding to allow my users to contact me at. So I replace this once again with that particular link, and then this file is completely ready to go. Now, The purpose of the terms and conditions page is really more for a usage standpoint for people that are going to be interacting with your website. So this may not actually be something that is as essential for other sites that you could have built in the past using other strategies that I've taught where you're not actually building a blog. But you still would possibly want to take advantage of using these copyright clauses that are a part of this file on those other types of sites. Now this particular file is a little more legal jargon based, but this will still cover your legalities on this website in terms of people using it and the copyrights that go along with all of your content and everything. Now, the contacting that you were putting in here, some way that people can reach you, this is in relation to the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. If somebody is browsing content on your site, especially since these websites are going to be using content that we are finding elsewhere on the internet. Let's say we made a mistake and we picked up a picture that is indeed copyrighted and the person doesn't want us to be using it on our site. Or perhaps they're okay with us using it, but maybe they want a link to their site or some type of credit placed on that photo, perhaps that we did not cover. So this covers you there. People are not immediately going to just try to file a lawsuit against you over something like that. They will go through this process right here and simply try to contact you and say, hey, this is, our work. This is our copyrighted material. Can you please remove it from the website? And then all you have to do is simply take it down and there's no problems. So again, this helps to cover you in terms of legalities for this type of site that you're going to be building. Now again, this isn't something that's necessarily a catch-all for any kind of website that you build. So if you are doing something different outside of what I'm teaching here, you may want to go through this in a little more detail just to be sure that this is covering everything that you are actually trying to do on your site. So repeat the same process with creating a page on your site and just copy and paste all of that information from the terms and conditions text file into this page on your site and publish it. So once you have these two pages published, you need to give people a way that they can actually reach them. There's a number of ways that you could really go about doing this. Personally, I will often put them up here in the top menu of the site so they are highly visible. But it could possibly depend on how much information you have up here in your menu. If you had a number of different categories to where they were taking up most of the available space up here, then you might not want to try to cram those things down to make room for the privacy policy and terms and conditions pages. But you could still place those down in the footer of your site, for example. The Weaver 2 theme offers a place that you can create your own custom HTML to put down in there. So it would basically just be HTML code for links to these two pages. But at least for the strategy that I'm teaching, where you're only going to have a couple of categories here, at least in the beginning, you can leave both of these up here in the top menu. So all you really have to do is go to Appearance and then go to Menus. Find the menu that you are using for the top of your site. There may only be one, the top menu right here, and you simply want to check the privacy policy and terms and conditions pages right here and click Add to Menu. And this will add it over here as you see on my site. Feel free to drag and drop to rearrange things to put them in the proper order that you want, and then save your menu, and it will automatically take effect on your live site. So now that that is covered, I am going to be proceeding on to Facebook. Now, with this Facebook strategy, there's three main goals here with connecting our website up to our Facebook account. Number one is to bring in new traffic. This could either be from people that are searching around on Facebook or people that are reading stories that have been liked or shared by their friends, or it could also be from Google searchers, because a lot of content that you put on Facebook can often get better rankings than that same exact content being put on your own website, simply because Google respects Facebook a lot more than a brand new website that's just appeared out there. Number two, we're trying to build a loyal reader base on these sites. And this helps us to do that because we can build them on Facebook from both our Facebook traffic and also from other traffic that we are able to get to our website directly that has not gone through Facebook. And this kind of leads us to the third point, to have constant contact with our loyal reader base. When we have a site and perhaps we're getting traffic off of Google alone, and they visit our site and browse around, once they leave our site, there's a pretty good chance that we'll never end up seeing that same person return to our website. So by linking Facebook into this whole process, we can get, obviously not everybody, but just a small percentage of those people. If they will connect with us on Facebook, then we can grow our traffic on a site over time without having to increase the amount of new traffic that we're bringing into it. So you just keep your new traffic at a steady pace, and then your overall traffic is going to grow as time proceeds because you're building up these loyal readers that actually follow your site and follow the new posts that you publish on there. So by getting all this connected and having these loyal readers and having an easy way that we can get in touch with them, we're going to be able to drive traffic to our new posts that are on our site. And this especially becomes relevant when we are publishing advertising posts. That way people immediately take notice of them and could proceed on to Amazon and complete purchases. So obviously once you can get a pretty decent fan base built up, you can drive a lot of traffic to a brand new advertising post within a single day even, and refer numerous sales instead of waiting for traffic to trickle into your site through Google perhaps to achieve your sales. So I'm going to be walking you guys through exactly what you need to do to connect your site up to Facebook. And this is going to also be continuing on into class number 4. But to start with here, I want to talk to you about a couple of different ways that you can use Facebook to help you accomplish these goals that I've been talking to you about. Number one is to build a fan page. And a fan page is going to be the focus of a decent portion of my class tonight. Now, in terms of actually creating your fan page, this should be more basic information, and it's something that I have previously taught before, so I didn't want to end up spending half of tonight's class walking you guys through basic tutorials on creating your fan page and creating things like a Facebook group. So instead I wanted to get more into the actual purposes behind all of this. For our fan page, we want people to be able to like our fan page and follow along with posts that we are making there. But since we are already having to make regular posts on our website itself, we don't want to have to jump over to Facebook then when we're done and actually create a post over there. We want to be able to do all of this directly from our WordPress site. So one of the plugins that I have provided for you guys in tonight's course materials is going to allow you to do this. And I'll be walking you guys through getting this set up and showing you how you can actually use it and giving you some tips behind creating your posts. To start with here, I just want to show you some basic information on how all of this works so you can get a good grasp of where the information is coming from that's going to be landing on our Facebook pages. That way, when you're writing your post on your own site, you can kind of keep this in mind so you can craft your information appropriately. Now to start with, if you look at just one single post that is here on this page, there's a few different sections to this post, and I want to walk you through a couple of these sections here and point them out to you and then show you briefly where this information is coming from. So to start with, we have this text up here at the top of the post. And as you can see, this gets cut off after only a couple of sentences worth of text. This text right here is coming directly from the content of the page that we have published on our site. This whole box down here that covers the image, this title, the description down below, this is all linked up to the post that is actually on our website. So when people click on that, they land here on our site and can see the full post. And if it is an advertising post, they could even then proceed on to Amazon to purchase that product. Now, the information that is contained within this box here, this information is not necessarily information that is viewable on this page right here. What it is, though, is this information is what you have entered in the SEO settings under this social networks listing tab right here. So we have a title and a description and an image URL right here. And this is the information that is populated into this box. We have our image and our title and our description. So this description right here and the title right here may not necessarily show up anywhere on this page. So you can use this title and this description as part of this social networks listing tab right here to craft your Facebook post directly from your WordPress website. So all you have to do is proceed through and create these posts, provide the information down below that you want to have published over to Facebook, and then publish it and move along to the next post. You don't have to jump over to Facebook and try to write a post over there and link it up to your website. This is all done for you automatically, but still gives you the power to customize all of this to your liking. Now, over here on the Facebook page, I want to point out a couple of different posts so you can understand how much information is really going to make it in to your Facebook post here. As you can see, these different boxes that are below the images or sometimes beside the images, the social networks listing tab, Rhonda, right here, this whole SEO settings box is from the SEO Ultimate plugin. And that information will not only just apply to Facebook necessarily, but that will be used in some later classes for connecting up with other social networks. There are at least some other social networks that actually recognize the same tags that Facebook will recognize, which is why it's labeled here as social networks and not specifically as Facebook. So in these boxes, the amount of information that can actually fit here is pretty much a set amount of information because these box sizes do not change from one post to the next. No matter how much information you might try to put into the social networks listing tab, only a certain amount is going to really fit on Facebook and show up. So the title, as you can see between these two posts, for example, one of these is a single line title and the other one stretches down into 2 lines because I've used a particular amount of content text here that is simply stretched it past the point that can fit all on a single line. Now the description below it will be fit into simply the space that is left over from this title. So as you can see with this single line title, I have a lot more space available to me here. Even if this description was as large as the one is for this post, it would still fit here without getting cut off. But over here, the bottom of this third line of text actually is getting hacked in half right here. And while it's still readable, it's not as easily read as the rest of it and may simply be ignored by some people. No, Kenny, you don't have to worry about duplicate content penalties from Google with this type of strategy. First of all, the duplicate content penalty is really more about the exact same content on your own website, but occurring on different pages. So you don't want to have multiple pages on your website where a large majority of the content on that page is exactly the same as another page on your site. That is something where Google looks at it and thinks that you're basically trying to inflate the amount of pages and content that your site really contains, and that's why they penalize for it. Now, they can penalize you for simply using content that's already out there on the internet. Yeah, something like curation, but in this particular situation where you're directly linking up that content from Facebook to your own website, Google realizes, what's going on in this type of situation, and it's not something, that's never been done or seen by Google before. And technically, the only part of your content here in your Facebook post that's actually on the post on your own website is really just this first bit of text up at the top. Everything down below here doesn't necessarily have to come from that page on your site, because you can completely customize that information in this social networks listing tab. So simply keep this in mind when you are writing your post on your own website. Each different section of information that you're putting into your website will translate into a section of information over here on your Facebook fan page. So I want to walk you through each of these in just a little bit more detail. First of all, with this content right here in the beginning, we are taking 330 characters from the beginning of your page. The exact amount, though, can really vary because it won't chop off your content in the middle of a word. So it could end up being a little bit more or less. Now, the entire purpose of this, I could obviously have had the plugin pull all of the content from the page on your site and put it over here onto Facebook. But I didn't want it to do that, because then they really wouldn't have any reason to leave the Facebook fan page and to actually visit our website. Yes, exactly, Kenny. We want them to go to the website, because a lot of our posts that are going to be occurring here on our fan page are going to be our content post. So if that's all they're looking at, then they would only see the ad post perhaps once a week. But if we can constantly drive them to the content post of our website, then after they're done checking this out, they can look over here in the sidebar and continue on to read more content posts if they want to. But our advertising posts are just a click away from them at this point. And this gets the people onto our site and helps them to get familiar with what we're doing, and also helps to encourage commenting to take place actually on our site here. Now, when you're writing your pages, you need to keep this in mind, that the beginning of your content is going to end up over here on Facebook. So you want that initial couple of sentences of your post to have some kind of meaning on their own, to the point where people can read this and kind of get a feel for what the post is about, and hopefully it will get them interested in, yes, exactly, Kenny, you keep beating me to it, to draw their interest in. Because once you can get them interested in reading this and they get to the end and they realize that there's more, you're pretty much guaranteed to get them to click over to your site at that point. Now, with your images, these images are again coming from your site. Chances are the image is already showing up on the page of your site, because you have included this in the content, and you're also setting this as a featured image, so it shows up on your category pages and your home page. However, when it comes to having that image go over to Facebook, there's really one main thing that I wanted to mention to you guys. If you ever plan on using Facebook advertising on the post of your fan page to promote them and attract new readers in to your fan page, you have to keep in mind one particular Facebook advertising rule when it comes to promoting these fan page posts, because you can actually get these to show up in people's news feeds. If you've ever seen, if you use Facebook a decent amount in your news feeds, you'll sometimes see what looks like a post that somebody just created on their own or from their fan page perhaps, except it's got that little sponsored tag down on the bottom of it, but it actually shows up as part of your news feed. You can do that with your fan page post here. But the image itself, if you have any text in your image, you have to make sure that that text is not occupying too much of the image itself. This particular image right here, this would not work. If I tried to promote this particular post using a Facebook ad, it would go up live initially, but within a few hours or so, it would be suspended for violating this rule with text in the images. They want it to really be more an image and not just an image where somebody wrote some large text on it to try to grab your attention. So you actually are allowed to have text in your image. It just has to be a small percentage. You need to make sure you keep it below 25%. You might even want to go below 20% because you can still have your image tossed out and have your ads suspended even if you haven't necessarily violated that exact rule. I don't know if they manually go through them. I suspect that they might use some kind of algorithm to try to estimate how much text is in your image. But I have had images that I specifically crafted to use for a post that I was going to be advertising, and I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that that text was within their limits, and they still suspended my ad. Well, if this ever happens to you, don't accept defeat. And if you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that your text is within what their policies allow, simply look in that email that they send you and they'll give you some way to contact them to dispute it, and just point out the facts to them that, you know, give them the dimensions of the image and the dimensions of the text on your image if you absolutely have to, but you don't necessarily have to do that. You can just say that, you know that this is within their policies, and ask them to review it, and then they'll actually put some real eyes on it in that situation. And I've yet to have something come up like that where I disputed it, where I knew that the image was good, where they didn't accept it and reapprove my ad and let it go back live again. So I wanted to at least mention all of that to you guys in case you ever run into that type of situation in the future, because I've run into it a lot on Facebook myself personally. Now with your post title right here, you could, as I had talked about in the previous class, when you're creating your pages and you're putting information in here for your search engine listing and also for your social networks listing, you could use the same information for both of these as long as you're being careful about how you're writing and crafting that information. If you're doing something heavily geared towards getting the person's attention to get them to click on this area right here on Facebook, then you might not want to use that same thing for your search engine listing. I wouldn't be putting things like click here in my meta description, but I could possibly put something like that in my title or in my description. However, I'm not going to sit here and say do that every single time to put essentially a call to action in your title or your description. But what I do recommend to do is simply to experiment. Since you're going to be creating so many posts on this site, potentially 7 a week if you're just doing the minimum 1 a day, then you have plenty of opportunity to try out some new things. You should never just accept something as the only possible way to do it, because you can always try to make adjustments to that. And the different niches that are out there that have different kinds of people that follow them, and so what works the best for one may not necessarily work the best for the other. So try different things. If you find that you're not getting a lot of clicks off of Facebook onto your post over to your site, try putting a call to action in your title or possibly even in your description down below to help to get more people to realize that, there's more to view over here on our website, but, you have to actually click here and visit our site to be able to see everything. Now, when it comes to the information that you're putting here in your title, you want this to be descriptive and to essentially summarize what your whole post is really about, but you also want it to be creative, so it's not boring. You want to attract their attention and get them to click on it. An example of that call to action, Kenny. Some of these posts that I've made, like for example this one, it's part of a tutorial series. It's actually 5 different parts. Down here in the bottom where I simply talk about what the tutorial series is about, I could have ended this by simply saying click here to read the full training guide or something to that effect. Anything that draws their attention to the fact that there's more on the other end relating to what you're doing here. And that also brings me to another point. You don't necessarily have to make your post solitary. You can try to do things that are linked together from one post to the next and so on. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a never-ending chain of connections, but you could do short-term series. Things like something I've done here with a tutorial, but it doesn't have to be tutorials. If you've done some type of niche where you have projects, the tutorial could be changed into simply showing people different phases throughout the project, even if you're not telling them how it's done, especially if you're doing anything arts and crafts related, anything where somebody is taking a product and essentially transforming it into something else. You can just show them a series of pictures along the way and encourage discussion on each of them. And not only does this give you a way to take one single situation or story and break it apart into multiple posts to give you more content, but it also gives people something to come back for on your site and on your fan page. So if they see the part 1 of something and they're interested in it, then if they want to continue and actually see everything that happens, they have to return the next day and the next day and check it out again, see what the next step of that is. Now, as I had mentioned before, with your description, the main thing you want to pay attention to, this is kind of an extension of your title, a way that you can add a little bit more information to that title to try to get them to pique their interest in it and click on it. But again, remember that you're limited to the amount of content that you can ultimately squeeze into here. So just keep that in mind when you're writing these out on your own sites. You can cram a lot more information into these boxes here than what's really going to fit over here on Facebook. Now, beyond your fan page itself, you can essentially do the same type of thing here with a Facebook group. I've also walked you through creating Facebook groups in previous training of mine, so that's not something that I will be spending the next 15 to 30 minutes going over here, but I still wanted to mention that it is a potential viable part of this strategy, but I'm not going to tell everybody that it's something that they should absolutely do, because you don't want to create a Facebook group if you ultimately don't have the time to do stuff with it. A Facebook group and a fan page are not necessarily the same thing. The group is a lot more so for discussion compared with the fan page, at least. So at least in the beginning, when you're working on building up to the point where you have a couple hundred members or possibly even more than that in a group, you need to be the person that is driving that discussion. And even once you get to a certain point, you still need to be there moderating things and helping to move the discussions along. And if things dry up, then you can always get them kick-started again. And just like the fan page, the group gives you a way to have that constant contact. And it can actually be a lot better with the group because you can have people that are there on a daily basis, and if you're actively involved in a group and receiving email notifications when there's new posts going on there, you can really have a pretty hop in place going on in a popular Facebook group. So then when it comes time to share some type of advertisement post from your website in the Facebook group, people will take notice of it and be interested in it and have that trust level built up with you to where they won't have a problem going through and purchasing through a third-party source through you just so you can earn a commission off of that. Obviously not everybody will, but if it's right for them and they have grown to like what you do, then you've really done 95% of the job there. So while it can be really, really beneficial, I strongly stress the point that, you don't necessarily have to do it if you're not confident that you can follow up with it and actually stay active with it, because without that activity, it's not going to just do things on its own. It's not something that's automatically connected to your website in terms of having a plugin that's going to be posting to your group for you automatically. You would actually have to go to the group and make posts yourself. Granted, you could go there and make posts that simply reference the new post that you have created that day on your website to try to stir up some discussion about it. Now, my other recommendation with creating a Facebook group is when you're first getting started, do not advertise at all. You only want to be putting out useful content and having good discussions with people in the beginning to get it built up to at least a couple of hundred members before you should really consider doing the advertising. Because no matter how built up you get your group, some people will still always be driven away by an advertisement. So you can sometimes lose people by posting ads in your group. And if you're doing this really early on, then sometimes it can take you forever, or you may never even reach that point where you have a decent group of active people to where it could start running itself, where other people might be driving the discussions that are going on, and other people might be inviting their own friends into it to help build the membership for you. So that would be, in my opinion, one of the more important points to running your group, is simply not to try to derail it before it really has a chance to get going. And even then, once you get to the point where you are advertising in your group, don't be giving them an advertisement every day. You, at best, would want to be going for the same type of ratio that you're doing on your website, something like a 7-to-1. So if you're on there posting in the group on a daily basis, then maybe make an ad post once a week, perhaps, maybe even on a set day every week. But even beyond that, in terms of what you're advertising in your group, try to be as selective as you possibly can about those particular products. Try to find something that is of value instead of just promoting just any relational product to them. Try to find something that's recently shown up in the bestseller list, or something that is a new release on Amazon, or maybe you're able to find something that's gone on sale on Amazon or has been featured as like a deal of the day or something. Even once you get around to the holiday season, they do a lot of those lightning ads on Amazon. Those are really, really good to use for this type of scenario. A lot of normal Amazon affiliates that just have a steady pace of traffic coming through their sites, they can't really take advantage of those lightning deals because they might be lucky to refer like one sale on it before the deal is actually over. But if you have a way to access hundreds or maybe even thousands of people by just making a single post on your own website or on Facebook or in a Facebook group, and can drive that much larger amount of traffic to an offer in a short period of time, you can not only give something valuable to your members by alerting them to something like that is a very limited time frame, or perhaps limited quantities available for it, like a lot of those lightning deals on Amazon are. And then obviously you're also going to benefit from all the commissions that you're going to earn from those sales. Now, what I want to be teaching you guys for the next little while here is how you actually pull this off with your fan page, getting these posts automatically published here. So you're never coming here to this fan page and writing your own post in this status box, unless you really just want to do something special that's not going to actually be on your website. All the rest of these posts, these are done for you automatically without you ever leaving WordPress. So to get all this set up, this is what one of the plugins that I've provided for you guys as part of this class is for. But before we get that plugin set up, we have to get Facebook set up first. So to start with, what we need to do is to actually create a Facebook app. But this isn't going to be an app like what you might be thinking about. This isn't something that people actually use on Facebook itself, so it's not like a game or anything. This is an app that is used for our website to communicate with Facebook to post all this stuff for us automatically. So to create this app, just go up here to this little gear icon to start with and click on it. And there's two options here, Create App and Manage Apps. I actually have always gone through the Manage Apps area. I don't really like the Create Apps page, and it's actually more difficult to find what you need to get to over there. But this one page allows you to edit your existing apps that are there, and up here at the top where it says Apps, you can simply click on Create a New App to get started here. Now this is a really simple process to get this going. All you need is a display name and then a namespace. A namespace, as you can see here, is actually even optional. We're technically not even going to be using it. So you don't have to provide it, but if you would like to go ahead and type something in there, it is quite all right. It really won't matter either way. So the display name is really also not going to matter that much. It's more for our purposes so we can distinguish one app from the next. Nobody's actually going to technically use this app and see this information here. So I will typically just name it after my site so I can remember which one it is for. And for the namespace, I will typically just do the same thing. Now, even if you're not going to use the namespace, regardless, it doesn't matter. You can go ahead and punch it in and actually reserve that namespace just so perhaps somebody else couldn't come along and create an app using that URL to try to take traffic from you if your site ever became popular. So the last thing you need to do here is simply to choose a category. And this isn't actually where you want to select a relational category. You only want to pick this first option right here, Apps for Pages. Once you've done all this information right here, just click on the Create App button. I'm actually not going to be creating my app here because I already have this set up and running on my site. Now, this app that you set up, as soon as you've clicked on that Create App button, you're going to be taken to this page that you see on my screen right here, where you can see up at the top this little dashboard section, and there's an app ID number and an app secret. This app secret, you just have to click on the Show button and confirm your Facebook password, and it will show that app secret to you. So you can take this information, and you're going to need this a little bit later on here to punch into the plugin. So I would recommend just opening up a notepad file and pasting in this app ID and the secret ID. So next up, we're going to go over to the Settings tab right here in the sidebar. In this Settings tab, there's two different sections that we need to worry about here. One of them is right here at the bottom. The app domains and the contact email will not be filled out once you reach this page. And down below, this website section is not going to exist. What you need to do is first click on the Add Platform button. This opens a window for you where you want to click on Website. Once you click on Website here, Then it adds this box to your page like you see here. And all you have to do is provide your domain name. So just punch in the same thing here for your site URL and also for your mobile site URL. Make sure you include the http:// at the beginning. This should be a complete domain that you could simply copy and paste into your browser and actually visit by just punching that in directly. So once you have provided this information, come up here and enter in your app domain. This is the same thing, but without all the beginning information. You're just punching in the actual domain name itself. So carbonfanatic.com for me is what I entered in up here. For your contact email, this should just be some kind of email that you maybe monitor on a weekly basis. You're not going to really get emails here from users of your site or anything like that. This is something where if your app was an app that people actually used and they needed to contact support for it, or perhaps Facebook needed to contact you about it for some reason, this is where they would do that through. But despite the fact that it's not something that's that important, you still have to provide it here to be able to proceed through this particular process. So once all this information is set up here, click on Save Changes down below, and this will save all this information for your app. Now the final thing you need to do for your app before you can actually use it is to make your app live. Just click on the Status and Review tab right here in the sidebar, and over here there's this little slider. It'll already say no over here on the right hand side, and the left hand side will be blank. Just click on it and slide it to yes, confirm that you want to make it live, and then you should see it how you see it here on my screen. You don't have to worry about this section down below. You don't have to submit this app for approval or anything like that. That really only applies to the apps that people will end up using, and it kind of just depends on what the app does in that situation. Not all apps really even have to be approved, even if others are interacting with them. So after you have your app set up and activated, then we can return to our WordPress site and begin to get this plugin set up. Now, in case you have not already seen it before, in or on the website, we have our course material page for class number 3. Give me 1 sec, I'm going to pull this up for you guys. Okay. The course material is accessed through this page right here. I've actually modified this page to where everything has been split up according to classes now instead of being all lumped together. So all you have to do is click on class number 3 to get to this page, and then you have all of your course material right here that you can download. The guidebook, a class checklist for this particular class, and then we also have 2 Facebook plugins that I have customized for you guys to do exactly what you need it to do without having to worry about all the other stuff that you would typically need to worry about for something like this. That and the Facebook plugins out there are typically not very reliable, because what worked on Facebook a couple years ago doesn't necessarily still work today. And then we have the text files that I was talking to you guys about a little earlier. So for this point in this class, we need this first plugin, the custom Facebook post publish plugin. We want to take that plugin and install it on our website and then activate it. Once we have it activated, then we can come down here into settings and actually access the settings page for this particular plugin. Now, getting all of this set up is really fairly simple. You remember previously on the dashboard here, we had the app ID and the app secret. That information gets punched into these two boxes right here. Your app ID goes here and your app secret goes in the box below. Then you simply want to click on this checkbox because you likely are not using an SSL certificate, and then save your changes. Do not proceed down to step number 2 quite yet. After you save your changes here, right here where you see access granted, there's going to be a button there instead, and it is going to say grant access rights. All you have to do is click on this button while you're signed into your Facebook account. Make sure you're still in the same browser here and still logged into your Facebook account. Once you click on this button, it's going to take you over to Facebook, and you simply have to provide the permissions for this app that it needs to be able to make these posts to your page for you. So once that is done, actually during that, the second of 3 windows that are going to pop up on Facebook will say that your app would like to post privately to Facebook for you or publicly to Facebook for you. There's a little drop-down box in the bottom left where you can choose whether your posts are seen public or only me or to certain groups of your friends. This really applies to people seeing them like through your newsfeed. If you set it to only me, it's not going to block people from seeing it on your fan page that simply visit your fan page. This is really more something that you would use if you didn't want your current Facebook friends to be seeing all these posts that you're making to this fan page. So once you have come back to your page through Facebook, after you've gone through those 3 steps and given them the proper permissions, it'll jump you back to this page, and then it'll say access granted right here in green letters. After that, all you have to do is look down below and find your fan page and click on it. So mine would be Carbon Fanatic. I click on it and it'll populate this ID right here for you. So you don't have to worry about that. All you have to do is click on the appropriate link and then save your changes. And this plugin is completely set up and ready to go. Yes, Rhonda. When I promote various plugins through emails and stuff, they are typically something that's not the same as anything that I've created or things that I've provided in my training. And I actually do test out anything that I promote. I don't ever just blindly promote products like a lot of other marketers seem to do. I request review copies ahead of time, and if I like the product and it's something where I'm going to be using on a regular basis, I even buy them myself, and I've done so pretty frequently before. So now once we have all of this set up, before I proceed to show you how to actually use this, I want to point out one potential thing that you could maybe run into in the future here. If you were to delete this plugin, like go to your plugins list and actually delete it completely off of this website, and then at a later point you returned and installed the plugin again and activated it, your information here would no longer remain if that plugin was completely deleted. However, on Facebook itself, the permissions that you granted through this plugin would still be there. Those do not automatically go away. So if you were to return here and try to grant those access permissions a second time, you would actually see a couple of errors show up at the top of this page. And it could potentially drive you crazy because you'd be wondering, why isn't this working? I've gone through it exactly how I'm supposed to go through it. Well, what you have to do to be able to set this up again with the same app information is to actually go to Facebook and clear out those permissions. Let me jump back over here to my Facebook page. From the gear icon on most pages of Facebook, just go down to Settings right here, and then click on Apps down below, and just look in this list of apps for the appropriate app and simply delete it from this list here, and that'll clear out those settings. Now, if you ever wanted to change, let's say you set your app to only post to you, and maybe at a later point in time you're like, it's not that big of a deal, and a lot of my friends have noticed I'm doing it anyways, so let me start sharing my post with them. You can come through here and edit those permissions that you had previously set up. So you're not stuck with that. You wouldn't have to go back through and completely redo everything. So I felt like that was something that, while you may never run into it, I at least wanted to show that to you in case that is a problem that you should ever happen upon. So now, once this plugin is set up and connected to our app properly, then we can actually go and make posts on our site now and get those posts to show up on our Facebook fan page. So just to show you how this works, I have a page up already, I believe, for a post. I had mentioned to you before that you have this social networks listing tab, and all of the information comes from this particular tab, or possibly from the beginning of your page content. Well, to get this to actually post to Facebook, what you really have to do is look for this little checkbox right here. This is going to show up on all posts and pages that you create on your site, even though it might read slightly differently. I'm on an existing page here on my site where I've already posted this to Facebook itself. So it's telling me that I can post it to Facebook again. But if I'm on a new page here, then it just simply says publish to Facebook. So I simply proceed through with creating a page. I don't want this to take a horribly long time and actually create a full page for you guys. But I still want to show you how this actually works. So I'm going to create just a sample page here for you. Now, as you can see down below here, my title I've set as title tag, and up here it's test title. So I'm using different information down below here than the default information that's set for my post. So now I'm just going to randomly select one of these images and set it as the featured image. And then I'm also going to punch this into the social networks listing tab as my image here. And I'll use the same title tag and the same description tag here. So now everything that I need to do for a post has been set. Everything else now happens up here in this corner box. If I'm ready to immediately publish this page, both on my own website and also on Facebook, then I can simply just click on the Publish button as it is right now. If I wanted to go ahead and publish this on my own site, but not on Facebook yet, I can simply remove that checkbox and just click on the Publish button. And then I could later come back to this post if I wanted to and publish it on Facebook. Or, if this was something that I didn't want to show up on my Facebook page, then I simply make sure this is unchecked when I'm publishing it. And in the future, if I update this page, I just simply make sure I never check this checkbox, and it'll never get published over to Facebook. Now, let's say I was setting up posts on my site that would be published in the future. Like, let's say I'm creating posts for each day for the next week, but I'm going to do it all today instead of having to be here every day for the next week to create those posts. Just like I had taught you previously with scheduling your post, you can do the same thing here where you schedule a post for a future date and time, and then you can still simply click on the checkbox for Publish to Facebook and click on the Schedule button. And the Facebook post will not actually get published to Facebook until this post is published on your own website as well. So you can not only schedule up the actual post on your site, but you can even schedule up future Facebook posts this way without having to be there and monitor it and work on it on a daily basis. So now, just to show you all of this, I can go ahead and publish this particular page on my site for the time being. I'll go back and delete it here in a few, but just so you can see it show up on not only my site, but also on Facebook as well. So I go and view this page on my site. Now, obviously, this is nothing special because it's not a real page. But over here on my fan page, even though I have not gone here and done anything whatsoever, you can see this post has automatically been published for me 21 seconds ago, where I have my content and my image and my custom title for my social networks, and also my description for the social networks. And then if I were to click on this, I get taken to the page on my own site. Now, the next thing that I want to talk to you about involves these posts on Facebook that are happening automatically. And this was actually a big part of the reason why I ended up having to delay this particular class, because I ran into this issue and it was really quite a headache to figure out. So I wanted to make sure to teach all of you guys about this so you wouldn't experience this problem for yourself in the future, because it's something that you can run into with not only the site that you're building with this strategy, but pretty much anything else that you would ever do on another site that involves a Facebook fan page post. Now, the information that shows up here in your Facebook post, this portion of the information right here, this beginning paragraph or two, this is coming from text that is right here directly on your page. And so when you're publishing this particular page here through the plugin, this information gets directly sent from the plugin to Facebook to publish this as a post. However, everything else that is a part of this post, the image and this title and this description, the plugin is not actually sending this social network's listing information to Facebook. What's really going on is that when Facebook receives my post and the reference to this particular live page on my site, then it goes and it takes a look at that page on my site, and it caches this information right here, the title, description, and the image. So this is important for you to know as a user, because if you ever want to change this information, let's say you're going through and you're creating a post and you provide this information down below and then you publish everything, and then maybe you're checking it out on Facebook and reading it and you're like, uh-oh, I made a typo down below here. Well, right here you can actually edit a post. However, as you can see, you're only going to be able to edit this part of your post. You don't get to edit down below here. This is information that is, again, cached by Facebook. So if I wanted to update this information, I can do this by editing it, or I can also do it by simply editing it here on my page. So I could just add in new information here and simply click on Post Again to Facebook and click on the Update button, and it would refresh this information. However, if I make a change down here, it's not going to refresh this information. So as you can see, I added the word new in front of each of these, and I'm going to go ahead and update this and post it again to Facebook so you can see this in action. So now that I have this posted again to Facebook, I'm going to go back here and I'm going to refresh Facebook so I can see what got updated. So as you can see, this got updated and now has the word new in front of it. But down here, this does not have the words new in front of it. Now, you do not ever want to come down here and delete your post from Facebook itself. If you delete it here, and then it's okay, Kenny. If you delete it here and then try to return to your post and update it again, it's going to have problems and run into an error, because this plugin, in order to post something again to Facebook, it has to remove that post off of Facebook first, and that fails in an unrecoverable error, essentially, when that post no longer exists anymore. So the only reason that you would want to delete something directly from Facebook here itself is if you're positive you never want this to show up again, or you never want something to show up here for this particular page either, or at least not doing so automatically through this plugin. So if you actually want to update your information in the social networks listing tab on your Facebook post, what you really have to do is to use a debug tool that Facebook makes available. And I'm going to show this to you guys. I have provided you with this link in the guidebook. It's developers.facebook.com/tools/debug. So all you have to do on this page is just punch in the URL to your updated page. So this is my page where I have my new content on there. And so I just get the URL off of this page and I punch it into the debugger page right here. And then I just click on debug. Now this goes through, and in situations where you were trying to, say, create your own website from scratch, where you were putting these tags on your page itself, it's actually HTML tags in the code of your page that provides Facebook with all this information about your page, everything from that social networks listing tab. Well, if you were having problems with that, something wasn't working correctly, you could come to this page and debug it, and it will give you errors here if there is anything wrong going on. Now that's useful to know in case you should happen to try to install some kind of Facebook plugin on WordPress beyond whatever I have provided for you and discussed for you guys, because if you have multiple plugins that are all inserting these same Facebook tags onto your site, then one may be overwriting the other one. And so the information you expect to show up on Facebook that you're punching into this social networks listing may not actually show up. So if for some reason things don't look to be working correctly for you, at some point down the future, if you installed something new on your site, this debugger could also alert you to that. If it tells you that there's, duplicate keys, or if you're seeing blank information or something like that, you may have installed something else that's wiping out these tags on your site. Well, beyond that, simply running a page through this tool right here forces Facebook to refresh the information. Now, I'm not talking about right here immediately. If I just click on refresh here, this information isn't going to change it. However, if I return to my post now and simply update my post one more time, then when Facebook goes to put the information on this new updated post, it will now have my new updated information from my social networks listing tab. So if you ever need to make a change, especially if it's immediately after you've published a page or something like that, and there's just something that you realize just can't stay there, or you can't live with it being there, that's how you go about removing it and forcing Facebook to actually refresh the page for you. Now, the final thing I want to talk to you guys about for this particular class. Oh, you're quite welcome, Kenny. This may even be something that could help you out in the future. If you're ever trying to like or share information, which I'll be talking to you about here in just a minute, and the information on that share on Facebook isn't pulling the proper information for the page you're trying to share, running it through this debugger tool can fix that as well, because that's the same type of information that Facebook is caching there. So next up, I want to talk to you about comments. Instead of using the standard WordPress commenting system, I am transforming it, not comments, comments. Sorry. I'm transforming this into a Facebook comment system. So this is kind of achieving two different things for me. First of all, if you've seen any of my previous training where I talk about the WordPress comment system and the fact that you get a lot of spam on it, you have all those comments that people are posting and they're not even visiting your website. They're doing so using a script where they're just beaming the comment to your website. You're not going to experience that once you're using this new system. I have yet to actually use this and see a bad comment come through, at least something that has been created by a script. People could still try to come on here and spam a popular page of yours with a link to an advertisement or a page on their own website or something of that nature. But what they're not going to be able to do is access these comments from their own site using simply a script and beaming those comments and spamming you to death. So not only does it help with that, but it also helps with attracting new traffic to your site, because when somebody comes on here and makes a post on your site, then this little checkbox right here also posts to Facebook. As long as they leave that checked when they make their comment, then their friends and maybe even friends of their friends will end up seeing that comment, and as a result may end up landing on our site and checking things out here as a result. So comments can kind of help get some viral traffic started for you in this situation. Now, not only that, but I just kind of like the whole system period. There are things that you can do here where you can moderate your comments, and even you have a number of different settings there that are available here. I'm going to go through and talk to you about all this stuff in just a couple of minutes, but first I should show you how to get all this set up. Now, this is the second plugin that I provide as part of the course material for this particular class. This is the bonus custom Facebook like and comment plugin. Now, I say bonus because when I was selling this series, I only planned on providing one custom Facebook plugin for this particular class. However, this ended up being something that I just felt like needed to be fixed. You remember how I was talking about the tags from the social networks listing and how that information can be overwritten by other plugins? Well, the comment plugin that does all this stuff for you, it was having that issue, and it was doing a few other things that I didn't really like. On the settings page, for example, there was a way you could log into your Facebook account to get your ID, but that particular login section was being flagged by McAfee as being suspicious, which doesn't necessarily mean that it is doing anything bad, but it's the potential for it, and that login thing was obviously routing through the original plugin creator's website, and I didn't want to run the risk of recommending something where he could end up scraping all of your Facebook IDs and trying to advertise you or something as a result. And I especially didn't want the possibility to exist for there to be like some kind of virus running through all that. So I tore this plugin apart and made it do exactly what it's supposed to do, and made it to where it's going to perfectly integrate in with this Facebook Post Publish plugin as well. So this comment plugin, go through and get this installed and activate it on your site. And you can find the settings page for it under Settings and Facebook Like and Comment. Now on this page, we have 2 ID numbers that we need to punch in to get things started. First of all, we already have one of these numbers, the second number right here, your Facebook application ID. This is the same number that we punched in as the app ID for the other plugin as well. So you can use the same app here. You don't have to create a new one. Next up, this first number here, this is your Facebook account ID. Now, there was the login box I was telling you about was in between these 2 boxes, where it was something where you could log into your Facebook account right through here and it would pull up your ID for you. But that also means that the creator could have just been logging all those IDs and simply using them on Facebook for advertising targeting purposes. So I simply remove that just to avoid the possibility of something suspicious actually going on there. Now, actually getting this ID is not something that's difficult to do, which is another reason why I felt like it really wouldn't ultimately matter. What you want to do is jump over to Facebook, and right here where your name is, when you're logged into your account, just right-click on it and open this page into the current or a new tab. And this will put the full address of your Facebook account in the URL bar. So this is including your Facebook username right here. So all you need to do is click on the www here and change that into the word graph, G-R-A-P-H, and then visit that page. This tells you information about your account. And not only that, you can do this with any Facebook account. It's not just limited to your own Facebook account. So you can actually go and scrape IDs of Facebook users, very specific Facebook users that you want to target with advertisements. If you see somebody and they're like, that person would be a great fit for my fan page or for my group or something because they're interested in what I'm doing and they're active maybe over in this other Facebook group. Well, you know, boom, you get their ID, you build a little list of these IDs, and you advertise specifically to these people in that manner on Facebook itself to try to attract them as your new loyal reader. Well, for this purpose, I just need my ID number for this plugin. So simply copy the ID number here, and then I'm going to punch this into my plugin in this top box right here. As you can see, I've already done same ID. So beyond this information, this bottom section of settings down here is the other part that I need to address. This turns on the commenting because this plugin doesn't just do commenting, it also does like and share buttons as well. So you need to come down here and click on this checkbox to enable the commenting system. And next up, you need to specify a width of the comment plugin on your site. By default, it's going to end up being kind of small and it won't take up all the available space. And since this is something that will be most commonly used on the posts throughout my site, I want to make sure this will still fit in even with the sidebar in place. So using Weaver 2, chances are this number should work out pretty good for you. If it ends up being a little too big or too small, you know, you can adjust this number accordingly to get it to fit in with the available space you have on your site. And finally, we have a number of visible comments. Personally, I want as many comments to show up as is feasible to do in regards to, if I have a post on my site and there's a big popular conversation going on, I want it to be blatantly obvious to somebody that is quickly just skimming through that page, because things like that will attract people's attention, and they'll be like, whoa, what's all this conversation going on? Maybe I should read this and see if there's something important down there. There are other suggestions that people have made, or something of that nature. So by expanding this commenting section to show a whole bunch of comments, if they exist, then this helps to attract a little more attention to that post for you, and helps to then drive even more comments. So once you have all this set up, just save the changes, and this puts the like and comment plugin into effect on your website. Now, I already had this running on my site right here, which I was pointing out to you before. I want to point out the specific sections here that this plugin created on the site, and explain them to you in a little bit more detail. Now, before I go into more detail about them, one of the things I want to point out is this comment section down here. If you're using the Weaver theme, some of the sub-themes may have a setting selected to where a rounded corner box will end up being placed around this comment area, and it actually just ends up looking unnecessary and a little messy and out of place. So if that is happening on your site, if you see that, simply go into your Weaver settings to disable it. You can find that by going to Weaver 2 admin over here in the sidebar, and then go up to main options, and in this first general appearance tab, close to oh, I'm sorry, it's not in the general appearance, it's in the content areas. In the content areas, close to the bottom of the page, we have this hide comment borders setting. All you have to do is select this setting, and it will hide that particular border for you, so it will end up looking more like what you're seeing here on my screen. So now, in terms of what this plugin did for us, first of all, right up here at the top, we have this like box and this share box where people can like our page, and it does so, connected to their Facebook account. And once they like it, it actually also gives them the option here of posting it to Facebook as well, so they can say something about this. Now, take notice of right here. This should look pretty familiar. This is the same information that is showing up on Facebook. As you can see right here, learn the final step to wrap. This is not my page content right here. This is actually information that is showing up right here in my post on Facebook. So with that in mind, I lost my page here. Here I am. Whenever people go to your site and like it or want to share it here, that same information can then be transferred to their newsfeed or to their timeline, for example. So this same information can get used in many different places and will help you to attract new people to your site. Now, the share button over here works pretty much the same way, except instead of just liking it, it's pretty much just trying to talk you into sharing it. And you can change whatever your privacy settings are and where you want to post it to. or share it to, for example. So this gives people a variety of options that they can use to connect this material up with their own social networking accounts, share it with their friends. Now, I also use this share this section. This is actually part of the SEO Ultimate plugin that puts this onto my page. I kind of like using both of them, even though you can go here and do a Facebook share already. I still kind of like having this separate like button and keeping Facebook out in front here, but still offering these other options to people that may be more into one of these other networks, like if they're on Twitter, or maybe they just want to email it to a friend of theirs, for example. But on your own sites, you could possibly choose not to use the share this section if you wanted to, solely keep the focus just on these Facebook buttons up here. Now, for your actual comments section down below here, as I had mentioned to you before, people simply go here and can type in a comment. I'm not going to post this onto my Facebook account, but just to show you how it works. It should, why is that not showing up? Okay, here we go. Sorry, I had to refresh it. So now I have my comment here showing up on this page. And it doesn't show up in the moderator view because it's my own post. If it was a comment made by somebody else, it would give me the option to moderate it over here in this section. Beyond that, though, we have this settings link over here, and this actually is the bulk of what this comments section can do. Now, you can do things like add other moderators here. If your site, became something fairly popular and you got other writers involved, or perhaps had a virtual assistant to help you manage the site on a day-to-day basis, you can still keep control of everything in terms of the Facebook app and keeping all that connected to your own account and being the administrator of it. But then you can still add other people as moderators, so they can just go on your website and moderate the comments that are posted there. So in addition to that, you can actually have comments set to go public automatically, or you can make it to where you have to approve these comments first before they will actually show up. Now, in terms of the work involved with moderating your own comments, it can be a little hectic to keep up with, especially as your site progresses and becomes more and more popular. What I would really recommend to do is start out by letting all of your comments go public automatically and see how things go. See if you get anybody that comes in and tries to, make a spam comment or anything where you actually would have to go through and delete it from your site, which you can do. You're never stuck with any comments that are there. You can still manage them through this moderator view even after they are already live. But then if you had problems with people spamming or just not posting good comments on there, then you could switch it over to approval only. But if you don't have to do that, I would recommend trying to avoid that if possible. Now, these next two options, they're not really ones that I find myself using too often, but they could still be something worthwhile to some of you, depending on what you're doing. If you had a site that was heavily focused on toys perhaps, or something kid-related, where you might have some younger people visiting your website. You wouldn't want them to potentially see bad language and things like that. So, you can blacklist words using the standard Facebook restrictions, or you can also create your own custom list of words through here as well. But you may not have a need for this in a lot of situations, especially if you're targeting a niche that's more filled with adults, like, my niche, for example, carbon fanatic. Chances are you probably don't have kids that are going to be out customizing their vehicles because they don't even have one or a driver's license. So, it's not something that I would have to worry about on this particular site as much, but could be something that some of your sites may need. Now they also have other login providers that you could use besides Facebook, but personally I don't use any of those, and honestly I've never even used this particular feature right here to allow these other login providers. I just keep it all on Facebook with the comments. But feel free to check that out if you would like to, but honestly I'd probably recommend just keeping it on Facebook, because this keeps your comments on Facebook and forces them to potentially post those same comments on to where their friends could see it as well. Now next here, sorting your comments. You can choose to have them sorted in chronological order or reverse chronological, so this would be by date and time, so your oldest or newest post would be up at the top. Or you can leave it on the default of social, which is typically what I will do. This kind of like groups your comments and makes the more popular ones show up higher up, things that are having, sub-comments on them and little discussions going on. They'll be higher up and more important on the page, more so than the comments that are just kind of by themselves and not really getting a lot of attention. But if it's something where, people will need to keep the discussion in a chronological order, it may make more sense on your sites to use one of these other sorting values here. So the final couple of settings here, I typically find myself changing these on most of the sites that I do. The grammar filter, I like to have it correct the common grammar mistakes just to help make my site easier to read, especially if I have perhaps some foreign traffic that may not have English as a first language. This can help to correct some of their most common writing mistakes that they might make, so they don't show up on the website. And then beyond that, the comments composer. You can either have this collapse when there are more than 5 comments, or always show. I typically have it always show because I want to be showing all the comments and also encouraging new discussions as well. So you can use these settings to make adjustments to your own comment system to get it working, exactly how you want it to. Just wanted to make sure you actually knew about this area here, because you won't find these settings back on the actual plugin settings page. This is only stuff that's here on your live pages. So you can kind of see at this point, hopefully, how all of this is going to be working together to help us to generate new traffic, and also to help us build that recurring traffic that's going to really be instrumental to the success of these sites that we're building. So in the next class, I will be again continuing on with more Facebook training, but this is going to be getting into some more slightly more advanced concepts where we're going to do things like building tab pages. So we can use the tab pages for advertising or connecting up to our own website or making fan page posts about them, whatever the case may be. These tab pages, though, these are the Facebook tabs right here on your fan page. You can actually create a page that uses your own custom content, whatever you want it to be, really, and have it linked up and actually on Facebook through one of these buttons right here. And you can create a bunch of them. They'll even let you expand down below and have more than just a couple of them. So these can be used for a wide variety of different types of purposes, and I will be showing all of you guys how all this works starting in the next class. But at least for now, you should be able to have your site up and running and start building up some posts on Facebook. So then once we get around to deciding whether or not we want to advertise, we will be ready to do so if we want to advertise. So we won't be advertising an empty Facebook fan page, for example. We'll have content already built up here. And so it looks like it's something that's already established, and will attract a lot more new loyal readers this way compared to just advertising a blank or a brand new fan page. So just try to continue with keeping up with your site and your posts, and also try to connect up everything to Facebook as I've taught you here, and we'll be moving on next class to finalize all of this Facebook training. I will be teaching the integration of some other social networks throughout this series. Google Plus is not really one of them. I've kind of already covered Google Plus in my previous training. So if you'd like to know more about that, you can find that by going over the Azon Home Study course. Now, things like Pinterest and Twitter, we will be going on to some more topics like that and connecting up newsletters in future classes here. So Facebook is not the only social network that we will be using with this strategy, but I do kind of consider it to be the most important and kind of the backbone of everything we're doing here. Now, do any of you have any questions for me? If you would like to ask anything about today's class, I don't mind at all.